Good morning. Welcome to Trading Hour. I'm Reema Tendulkar. With me is Prashant Nair. Markets are absolutely flat. For one, we've seen about a 10% rally on the Nifty so far this month. The Dow Futures is pointing to a bit of a negative start. So the Dow Futures is currently down about 150, 200 points. So all things said and done, flat is not bad. Mid-caps, however, continue with their outperformance this week. While the Nifty has been absolutely flat, the mid-cap index has rallied 2.5%. But the underlying statements which are coming out of the consumption, which tell us the consumption picture, continue to be very strong, and that's where the big rally is today. Titan, Nestle, ITC, Asian Paints, Britannia, these are stocks which are leading the up move at least. So they will come up for you on your screen. Prashant, morning. This entire week, as the Nifty scaled to record levels of near 13,000, we've been talking about, the stocks which went out. We've been talking about how valuations are also at record levels. But all that is predicated on the earnings momentum which we've seen in the current quarter in Q2 sustaining, not just in the second half of the demand where possibly the pent-up demand will continue to play out, but perhaps FY22, FY23 as well. You've done some analysis about the earnings expectation that the market has for the coming few years. What does it look like?
Thanks very much for that. Well, I looked at valuations at the start of this week, which is basically on Tuesday. We basically showed how market valuations are at record highs. I mean, basically for the Sensex, but for other sectors as well. Some at peak, some 10% away, some 15 to 20% away, others more. But index valuations were at peak. Now, as we wrap up this week, I decided to take a look at the earnings of the PE, the E of the PE. What are earnings expectations looking like? Well, let's dive straight in. The graphic here will tell you exactly that. This is the graphic which shows you earnings, consensus earnings expectations for Nifty 50 companies. And as you can see, FY21 earnings are seen up some 9% as compared to FY20 levels at about 485 rupees. FY22 earnings naturally are expected to shoot higher. The lower base effect will come in. That's seen at now 668 rupees. This is for FY22. This will mean a 37% growth over FY21 levels. And then, some are already starting to talk about FY23 earnings, right? And this varies, but consensus expects that FY23 earnings will be 809 rupees. That will be a growth of 22% over the previous year, which is FY22. Now, why is this chart in a way incredible? This right here, if it pans out the way that consensus is expecting, means that this would be the best 3-year earnings growth CAGR since the global financial crisis of 2008. So you basically have to go back to the 2003-2007 period to find growth rates consistently this high. Well, is it possible it repeats itself? Well, sure it can. But one must also look at nominal GDP growth expectations, right? Remember, nominal GDP is closely correlated, or earnings growth is closely correlated to how nominal growth in the economy pans out. FY22 nominal GDP, again, according to expectations, is expected to be flat or lower as compared to the FY20 base, not FY21, but as compared to the FY20 base. This basically means 0 to negative GDP growth over the period of 20 to 22. The question then is this: how is earnings growth going to be 21%, 20% plus over that period broadly when the underlying nominal GDP growth is expected to be flat? Again, we're talking about broadly the 20 to 22, 23 period. That's the question. That's the big question which we want answers to. Who better to put the question to than to Sanjeev Prasad, who is joining in from Singapore. He, of course, is head of Kotak Institutional Equities. Sanjeev, it's a pleasure. Great to have you with us here. Thanks very much. Prashant this side. So just that question. I looked at your earnings expectations for 21, 22, 23. You're slightly lower than where the street is, but not very far away. What is your prognosis? If we are at the start of an earnings upgrade cycle and consistently we do better and better, what would lead it? First, do you believe that we are at the cusp of that?
Well, possible. See, we have seen a lot of earning downgrades in the March to August timeframe of this year, as the market is recalibrated to the negative impact of the pandemic on earnings pretty much across the board. Now it turns out that the economy has been a lot more resilient. Demand is a lot better across sectors. Companies have managed to rejig their supply chains and get back on on the track of production fairly quickly. So all that means is that we are starting to see an earnings upgrade cycle. If I remember my numbers correctly, when we went into the pandemic, let's say in February 2020, for March 21, our EPS estimate for the Nifty 50 index was about 675. We brought it down to somewhere about 450 kind of a number in August, which was probably the bottom. And since then, that number has gone up to about 480 kind of a number. Same way for FY22, we started at about 800 rupees in February 2020, just before the outbreak of the pandemic. Went down all the way to 600, back to about 625 or so. So yeah, so we have seen some earnings upgrades of late over the last 2-3 months based on much better performance from companies, especially the second quarter results time frame when companies handsomely beat our estimates across the board. I mean, barring autos to some extent and a couple of utility companies, I think just about every company Nifty has beaten our EBITDA numbers, pretty handsomely in some cases. So that's why we are seeing earnings upgrades for now. Now, I don't know how much of this will continue. This is all predicated on one most important thing, which is that we don't see a resurgence in COVID situation in India. Unfortunately, what we are seeing in Europe, as an example, if that happens, then obviously all bets are off. But if that doesn't happen, then I assume at least the numbers that we are forecasting currently, which is about 10% YOY growth in the net profits of the Nifty index for March 21 and 29% for March 22, that should come through. Whether you will see more earnings upgrades, we'll have to wait and see as to what is the pace of economic recovery, particularly some of the sectors which are still to get back to normal levels of activity. And if the reopening happens a lot faster in some of the sectors, maybe you could see earnings upgrades. And the more the discretionary kind of sectors, which were more badly hit by the lockdowns and the eventual slowdown in the economy. And more importantly, also the banking sector, given the concerns over there with respect to high levels of eventual loan loss provisions, which the banks will have to provide for. As of now, it looks like whatever provisions the banks have made seem to adequately reflect the eventual level of NPS and credit cost. And hopefully, those numbers actually turn out to be the highest side. So that's the case, and could probably see, one major upgrades coming from the banks. And banks are a big portion of the overall net profits of the Nifty 50 index. So I think if the economy recovers faster, you could see definitely earnings upgrades in the banking sector and some parts of the discretionary consumption sectors.
Sanjeev, morning. This is Rima here. So your point is that the earnings growth will look good from here on. But with markets trading at 21, 22 times forward multiple, isn't it already in the price now? What can drive the actual stock markets higher?
I guess it has to be earnings upgrades only now because, a lot of good news is really priced in terms of the other big equation, which is, relevant for stock prices, is the cost of capital or cost of equity, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't think interest rates in India anyway headed further down from where we are. So that's more or less bottomed out, and that's probably the situation globally also. As the focus shifts to more recovery, I assume, you will see a bottoming out of interest rates. So let's keep that aside. So if you don't see any further support from global and domestic bond yields going down further, then it has to be clearly just earnings upgrade. So I suppose the relating trade has already happened to a large extent, in the sense people were very worried about the negative impact of COVID on on sentiment. So that looks like taken care of, especially given the very loose monetary policy which have been adopted by all the central banks. That supported a big rating in multiples, and now we are starting to see some earnings upgrades. Whether that sustains, as I discussed earlier, we'll have to wait and see. But if that continues, maybe the multiples also hold up. So you see further upside as far as the market is concerned, driven by earnings upgrades.
Sanjeev, if you look at the last 5 years, right, earnings expectations have the overestimation on earnings has been roughly to the tune of 18 to 20%. I mean, that is huge, right? Now, FY22 as compared to 21 will be absolutely solid. Will be that big jump, some 37% or so. The question is, do you have visibility at this stage that 23 over 22, 24 over 23, I mean, are we at the beginning of a cycle like what we saw between 2003 and 2007? Or you think we don't have that?
See, hopefully, you will see earning growth coming in, let's say, beyond 2022. So 2022 over 21 will obviously, just be reflecting a very low base in 2021. And especially if the provision which have been made by banks, if that is sufficient, then probably, you will see very strong earnings growth in FY22. I mean, as I said, we have 29% growth in the net profits of the Nifty 50 index. 23 over 22, we'll have to wait and see. But as of now, we have 19% growth over there. Again, coming from the banking sector to some extent, assuming, loan loss provisions will further decline in FY23 compared to FY22. And some pickup in all the commodity-related sectors and also in telecom, where we are assuming that ARPUs will, have to go up eventually from current levels because nobody's making any money, at current levels of ARPUs, barring Jio to some extent. So on a more longer-term basis, we'll have to wait and see whether India goes back to that 8% real GDP growth, which was the situation between 2004 all the way to 2008. In fact, up to 2011-12, because we had a blip in 2009, fiscal 2009, that is because of the global financial crisis. But the growth came back fairly quickly, supported by a lot of fiscal stimulus, which was done at that time. Now we'll have to wait and see. This time around, the focus of the government has been entirely on supply-side reforms with some focus on stimulus. So if we see, some of the supply-side reforms eventually translating into a lot of investment coming in, and I'm hopeful about, more investment in domestic manufacturing, given the efforts being put in by the government on labor reforms, some of the PLI schemes, corporate tax rate was cut last year itself. So all that will hopefully result in more investment coming through. So if the investment cycle starts picking up, that is what is going to drive GDP growth on a more longer term basis, because over the last 4 or 5 years, the growth has entirely been driven by the consumption part of the economy, which is about 60%. So as I said, longer term, we'll have to reassess, what's the longer term structural growth in India. Do we go back to 8% real GDP kind of growth, or we are stuck somewhere in the 4 to 6% in GDP growth, which we have seen over the last couple of years. I mean, forget about FY21, 22, which these are very abnormal years in terms of big contraction in FY21 and big rebound in FY22.
Sanjeev, apart from a resurgence in COVID cases, what could be the other risk to our markets?
See, one of the things, or two things I would say on a more fundamental basis. One is the strength of the demand recovery that we are seeing currently. The expectation is the demand recovery is fairly sustainable. Now we'll have to wait and see if that is the case. How much of the strong demand numbers we have seen in the months of July to October and November is driven by a combination of maybe pent-up demand earlier and some amount of pull-forward demand. In case of October, November, we'll have to wait and see. But I would assume some portion demand is coming from the fact that households have had to buy a lot of things, for convenience reasons. Of consumer appliances, for example. You don't have domestic help at home. What option do you have? You have to buy a washing machine or a vacuum cleaner or whatever. And the same thing probably holds for two-wheelers and four-wheelers to some extent, I would say. People probably don't want to use personal transport, public transport. That's why they have bought small cars or two-wheelers. Now, how much of this is sustainable, we'll have to wait and see, because obviously there's a big impact on household income, especially for the lower income households and in the urban areas. So that's one. The second part is some of the earnings surprise in the second quarter has been driven by costs being fairly well managed by companies. Now, again, how much of that is sustainable, we'll have to wait and see, because ultimately that depends on the nature of the product and the nature of the market. In some cases, maybe the company will be in a position to retain the cost savings we have seen over the last 4 or 5 months. In most cases, probably the cost will get passed on to consumers eventually. So I just hope the market is not extrapolating some of the recent trends, and assuming that the strong demand numbers is going to be fairly robust, for a long period of time. Do keep in mind the fact that household incomes have got impacted, and the cost saving part, again, I don't know how much of that is for real. Some of it I assume will probably sustain in the medium to long term, but most of that will get passed on. So that's one, the assumption that, you will see very strong earnings upgrades based on the most recent events. We'll have to wait and see. Second factor is obviously, any geopolitical issues, we could probably see, some derating in the market. Now I don't know what the geopolitical issue is. Thankfully things have been fairly quiet all over the world. And U.S. presidential elections, hopefully you will have a smooth transfer of power, even though it doesn't look like that's the case currently. But hopefully over the next 1 month, that issue will also get settled. So I think, beyond big resurgence in COVID, mostly things look under control over the next 2-3 quarters. You will continue to see, economic recovery followed by hopefully some earnings upgrades. Global and domestic bond yields will continue to be, fairly low for some, reasonable period of time. So all that means that despite very high multiples of the market, and especially for the consumer staples, discretionary, and to some extent IT and pharma sectors also, I suppose the valuation may sustain.
Okay, that's comprehensively put. Sanjeev, thank you very much. Great to speak with you here on CNBC TV 18. Appreciate it as always. So that's Sanjeev Prasad of Kotak with his thoughts there. The market has taken a bit of a dip. We're down 25 points. So 12,747 is where we stand at. And, across the board, there is a bit of pullback that we've seen. Let me just quickly pull up the indices picture, the sectoral indices and where we are at as far as gainers and losers go. Private bank index is the top of the list in terms of what's losing. It's down 1.1%. The PSU bank index is down 1%, and the bank nifty is down 1% as well. So it's banks clearly right in the top of the losers list at this point. We'll take our first break here. We come back and we have gold prices in focus. My colleague Manisha is always joining in with the commodities picture. Back in 2.